Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Okay, my friends, once again, it's time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J. Stam McCauley. Welcome. Another week of getting our talk on. I have a champion of talk with me. We got two of them here and a couple of guest champions with us. This morning, we've got the one and only Miss Cleo. Miss Cleo Duke-Wright. How you doing there, Miss Cleo?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good this day. It's Friday, my last day of work for the summer. It was yesterday. I have my summer vacation now and got a lot of things to do, so I'm doing good.
All right. So, last day of work for the week.
No, for the summer.
For the summer.
I work a school year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So I'm off until the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of plans to do and a lot of new things that I'm going to do. So I'm just excited about getting started. And of course, I have to clean my house because when you're working, you don't always have time to do as much as you want. So.
All right. Well, at least your work and home are separate. For a lot of people,
I never did that.
They work their offices at the home.
I've never done that well. I think if I was by myself, I could do that. Mm-hmm. But I have interfering people in my house, so
yeah.
I can't even be in a room by myself usually unless I lock the door. And these are grown folks, unless I lock the door. So I have to get out and away from the house to work.
Yeah, I would imagine it's most difficult for the mom. If you're a mom and you're at home, mom is the most important person in the house. So everyone's always calling, Ma, the husband, the oldest child in the house. Honey, honey.
Oh.
Cleo.
Oh, please, my child, the young man that I care for during the school year, that word Cleo comes out of his mouth must be 100 times in 3 or 4 hours. I said, oh my, and then I get home and I get Cleo. I said, oh, please, lose the name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to be popular, and there's nothing quite. No one is more popular than mom.
I think that's right.
Mom, aka wife, aka house manager, financial guru, knower of all things. A lot of pressure. So you can't possibly work from home. Because you never get any work done.
No, I would never get any work done.
Yeah.
I have a program that I do on a telephone on Thursdays. Ladies talk, and I'm gonna be in there for 1 hour. That's all, 1 hour, and still I have to have an interruption. Still every time, at least one. So,
unfortunately, you can't just wall yourself off and.
No.
See how walled off I am? You can't get to me. Then I'm at the end of the hall, in the front of the house, behind a door. So as long as the door's closed, everybody leaves me alone.
Oh, I wish that was so.
My wife is in the open. She's in the open. But what my wife has? She has a secret weapon. I don't have. Oh, well, these'll do. Then she doesn't use these, but she has a secret weapon. This is her secret weapon. Headphones. She puts these on, even if they're not on, they're in. So if you call her, she doesn't She just ignores you, so you just figure she can't hear you, and so you just keep going. So everyone kind of looks over at her, and her back is, she kind of sits sideways to you as you walk past, so you think she can't hear you and see you, so you just ease on by, and so that's her secret weapon. And
nothing works.
Working at home in the age of COVID. Joining us is the one and only. We have another champion of talk joining us this morning. We have also Miss Vicky Fennell. How you doing there, Miss Vicky? Tilt that camera down. There we go.
I'm doing pretty good.
You want to hit that mic for us? I think it. No, turn it on.
Oh,
I thought it was on.
I think that might
Yeah, push it up. There we go.
How's that?
That will be fine. Go on.
Yeah, I'm pretty good for a Friday morning.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a challenge this morning, but I'm here.
All right.
I have tea with lemon, so this is
tea with lemon.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's good. It's good. Miss Vicky is here. We have Miss Cleo is here, and we will press our way toward the wonderful subject of Hartford Decides. We have some guests this morning. We have guests here in studio. Well, actually, they're not in studio, but they're joining us via Zoom. So everyone's living in a Zoom world, and you'll notice as we visit these people. I give you a little heads up. One looks like they're absolutely, positively at the top of the world because they're lounging, I guess, on the sun porch or outside. One looks like they're trapped in an office, and the other one looks like they're at home. And this is the beauty of Zoom. At least none of them are in their car, because I've gone to many Zoom meetings and people are in their car. You know, I've done official meetings for city entities, and sometimes the people are in their car. And it's funny because they'll start off in the car, then they're outside, then they're inside. So that you see them moving through different phases, and they picture up, and then when they talk, you can see them in their different backgrounds. But let's welcome some people to the microphone here. We'll start off, I guess, with Mr. Richard Frieder. Richard, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Stan. Thank you so much for having us today.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
It has been a while. Seen you on Zoom once or twice, but other than that, sometime before the pandemic.
All right.
Hopefully we'll see each other face to face soon now that things are opening up a little bit.
Yeah, in the real.
In the real.
You know.
Hi, Richard. How are you? It's Vicky.
I'm good, Vicky. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Yes, and Miss Cleo, it's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you in years.
I know. Nice to see you too, Richard.
Yeah, I have to say, you look terrific. You look younger.
I do.
How did you do that?
I don't know.
I want to know.
It's the coffee. It's the coffee. I make a special brew of coffee. I'm going to start selling it. It's the Elixir of Life coffee brand label, you know. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about Hartford Decides. And for those of you that don't know what Hartford Decides is, we're going to let Richard tell you.
Well, I'd be happy to, but if I may, Stan, can I introduce my
Absolutely.
friends here?
Introduce the oops, that's the wrong graphic, Richard. Introduce the crew.
The crew includes Cristina Chillogalli, also known as CR. Cristina is the president of the board of Hartford Decides. I'm the vice president, by the way.
Good morning, Cristina.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have with us Naomi Ngoma, who is the secretary of the Hartford Decides board.
All right. So should we defer to Cristina first, since she's the president?
I usually do.
All right. So then, Madam President, you have the floor.
I might be the president, but let's be serious. Richard is the godfather. If you ever hang with me, let's just lay that one out. But Stan, your original question, Hartford Decides. Hartford Decides is a group that comes together every year. The city is gracious enough to grant us a portion of capital funds. And then we go out to our friends and our neighbors and we ask them for ideas on what we can do to improve things within the city. And every year we have just amazing projects that come to ballot. And gosh darn it, I wish every year every single one could win because that's how good they all are. But as we know, money only goes so far these days. But yeah, so after we put these ideas together and flesh them out, and, do the work and touch base with the city, they end up on a ballot, and then we need to come out to our residents of Hartford and say, hey, take a look at these and please vote on the ones that, are nearest and dearest to your heart so we can make them happen here in the city.
Fabulous. So how much money do you guys get to work with this year?
It's different every year. This year we have 40,000. So we have 40,000. I think we have like 5 projects that made it to ballot. So if you head over to hartforddecides.org, please choose 2. And at the end of the month, we'll figure out which 2 have won.
All right. Now, originally this started off, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 100,000.
Yes, I'm thinking 40,000.
Oh, it was even more than that, actually.
Was it 500,000? 200.
It was even more than that.
$1 million.
It was.
It was year one.
750,000.
Okay,
the first year.
150 the first year.
750.
So, wow,
That's a big
Yeah,
drop.
yeah.
That's a
How much?
Yeah, it was 750,000 in the first year, but that was before the city's financial crisis really hit.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody is familiar with that. And then we're now in our 5th year. So in the second year, the allocation, and again, this is capital funds, was 250,000. And in the third year, as it turned out, there was no allocation. There was originally the city made an allocation, but was not able to fulfill it because the financial crisis was in full swing. And then last year, our 4th year, and this year, it was 40,000. So, that's not the direction we want to go in. But considering what's happened financially for Hartford over the past 5 years, we're really glad that we're still getting something. And I should emphasize that we're saying that we get this and we got that. In fact, we don't get anything. Hartford Decides never sees this money, never touches the money. We manage this public engagement process that Cristina was talking about, where people suggest project ideas and then there's a community vote and then the winners get the money. So we just manage that process. We never actually see the money. And this is, Hartford Decides is what's called participatory budgeting. And participatory budgeting, which we usually refer to as PB, because participatory budgeting is a mouthful, actually got started about 30 years ago in Brazil and spread throughout South America and into Europe, and in the past 10 years has really caught on in this country. And Hartford Decides was the first PB process in Connecticut, and may still be, I'm not sure. So the equally important to the projects is the community engagement process. The whole process of inviting residents, Hartford residents, actually anybody, but to vote, you have to be a Hartford resident and 13 years of age and up. So youth are included. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen. But the community engagement process is inviting people to propose ideas, as Cristina said, and then we work with volunteers in the community to take those ideas and turn them into project proposals. And some of the ideas fall by the wayside in that process because, originally it's sort of these raw ideas, some of which it turns out are not feasible or they're already being done by somebody else or they don't fit within the financial constraints that we have, et cetera. And then the ones that are still, that get through that process go on the ballot for the vote. And then again, as Cristina said, the winning projects get the money, and the vote is open right now. It opened a week or two ago. It'll be open through June 29th. And we invite any Hartford resident, 13 and up, to go to hartforddecides.org and cast their vote. There's 5 projects on the ballot. You can vote for 2 projects.
Wow. So this is really a cool thing because at the end of the day, this is something that really strengthens the idea of democracy. I mean, you get to decide on different projects within your city that are happening as it pertains to capital improvements. So, it really gives you an opportunity to get involved. So this, I was always a fan of this thing. I think that participatory budgeting should be how we do our budget. That's that's a big wishful thinking. But
what did you say, Stan? I couldn't hear that.
Well, with the right leadership here, you probably could have it. I think it is. I participated in it a couple of years in a row, and I learned a lot about the process, and certainly the departments that are funded, where the money goes, and all the positions. And I tell everyone, if you have a chance to do it, do it.
Yeah, I was around at the beginning. I just remember the energy.
Oh,
The energy that people had in their, and in the excitement
it was early
they
in the
had
morning
in
too. They came, remember?
they had in their projects, and I didn't participate in any of it. I just watched. I just watched it, but I love the energy that people had and the hopes that they had for their projects, and even though, and then some of the anger when they didn't win. Some people don't take losing very easily.
Yeah, we really try to promote people embracing the greater good.
Yes.
So sure, I or any of us may work to develop a particular project. It might win, it might not, but the community overall benefits from the process and from the projects.
And that's the idea that you need to have in your head when you go into your own project. I think that it's a community thing, Right. So I just don't think I have to win, because if anybody wins, we all win.
Right.
That's it, exactly.
And
exactly.
So I've always thought it was a wonderful idea and wonderful program. And
we hope that all 3 of you will either have voted or will vote before June 29th.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the graphic on the screen here, we get that graphic up.
Yeah.
That now, if you have one of those readers on your phone, if you just point your phone at the screen. Now, I know that's hard to do if you're watching us on your phone, but it'll take you to the website hartforddecides.org, and then you can cast your vote. What are some of the projects that are going on this year?
Well,
we have some awesome projects. We have a DIY plastic recycling option, which, recycling, being able to make things easier on the earth is always a great thing. We have some folks that want to, Hartford Park's electrical box. So they want to get more art onto the electrical boxes that you actually see periodically throughout the city already. And then also get some murals on the Colt concession stand. We have a tree beautification for the schools here in Hartford.
Oh, I love that.
We have a project that wants to repair the Wallace Stevens Bridge sidewalk. It's really off the shape, honestly. And then we have the Wintergreen Community Garden restoration. Just all really great projects. And I feel like something else to note, Cleo, is that no, not every project can win, but I feel like the city watches this project. And, granted, they don't allocate us extra money throughout the year, but they kind of take note of the different things that come to ballot and the things that are important to the residents. So, maybe it may not win, but it may be something somewhere along the line that they kind of get wind of, and somehow they work it in as a project down the road, or, next year, bring it to ballot again. I mean, just because there's so many projects every year that are really close. So just because it didn't win this year doesn't mean that you can't potentially bring it back for next year.
That's good. And as you say that, it caused me to think about some of the things you see going on in the city that actually kind of started off as Hartford Decides projects. And so just because it didn't necessarily win funding for that particular cycle doesn't mean that the idea wasn't good enough for them to pick up, because the city always can do different things, and indeed does. And the projects bring light, they shine a bright light on some of the things that need to be done as well. And so it's a good process.
Yeah, some examples of that, Stan, are one of the winning projects last year was to refurbish or replace a fitness trail in Keeney Park. This is part of the Keeney Park Sustainability Project with Herb Virgo and others. So, that was an example. And that proposal was developed by a group of high school students. So now the equipment has been ordered. It was for about $20,000 or $25,000 was allocated to this to order new equipment to replace an old fitness trail, and they're getting ready to do the installation. So that's an example of it's a Hartford Decides project that is going to benefit many people in Keeney who are out there using Keeney Park. Another example from last year, again, this proposal was developed by high school students, was to make some enhancements to the ice skating rink in Bushnell Park. That, of course, because of COVID, the ice skating rink did not open this past winter, but those enhancements are going to be made. So, there's a lot of great projects, and if we can keep doing this for enough years, and if you could look at a map and have a dot where all the different Hartford Decides projects are, it would start to fill up with all these great ideas that can really help just make Hartford a better place for everybody.
Yes.
That's great. So, once again, if people are interested in the project and want to vote, because folks, if you don't vote, let me rephrase that. The project that gets the most votes will win. So find out what's going on in terms of the projects, find out which ones you want to support, and then once you vote, forward the link to friends and family that live in Hartford, and get them rallied up behind it. And this is a really, really great exercise in democracy, because just like you decide on what projects are good, this becomes a really good habit, because you can decide a whole lot more than just for the Hartford Decides projects. Because if you actually go to city council meetings and board of education meetings, you can help decide a whole lot of stuff. It's not just limited to when Hartford Decides projects are happening, which are, really capital improvement projects. But there are many, many ways in which you can improve not only certain, small projects, but you can improve your whole city, because at the end of the day, believe it or not, Hartford always decides. You always decide. You decide either through your vote or not voting, believe it or not, is one way you help decide, because that means you kind of like want to leave stuff the way it is. So get out there and go vote. Once again, we'll put this up on the screen. And for more information, you can call 860-256-8505. That's 860-256-05. Excuse me, 8505. Maybe someone else should read that.
860-256-8505. I think.
There we go. Yeah, 860-256-8505. We'll be calling all kinds of numbers. All right. So we also have Naomi with us. Naomi's been kind of quiet. She looks like she's at work somewhere. She's tied to her desk.
No, I am in my office, but I'm not working yet.
Okay. Wow, you got to work early today for Hartford Decide. That's great.
Uh-huh.
All right, so tell our viewers a little bit about what you do, Naomi. You've been so quiet this morning.
Oh, I am usually quiet, but I am the secretary of the board for this current year, and I kind of fill out where I can behind the scenes and stuff like that. That's how I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
All right.
Is it what I do in particular, or just with Hartford Decide?
Well, with Hartford Decides, and you could tell us more about what you do if you want, but we're not.
Oh, no.
We're going to probe into your,
Can I say something?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Because Naomi is shy, but Naomi is really connected to the community. And she works, Naomi, at Emmanuel Lutheran Church. Is that correct?
I do. Yep.
Yes. And she's so totally devoted to the community and the neighborhood. And, Hartford Decides is all about the community. It's all about connecting with people. And she has been great at helping Hartford Decides connect with the community and get out there and let people know about voting, let people know, earlier in the process about suggesting project ideas. So Naomi, what is that old saying? Don't hide yourself under a bushel basket or something like that. Naomi is shy. She needs to promote herself.
I'm learning to.
Yeah. But she's been a great, valuable member of our
It's something
of our
that I'm
group.
working on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate her contributions to the city and all that she does, as well as everyone on the team and all that you guys do. And once again, we hope that people are out there participating and take advantage of the opportunity to cast their votes. I'll put the graphic up one more time so people can see. And go here, hartforddecides.org. You can vote right now. And
You can put your phone up to that little thing.
yeah. If you have
is that what that's for?
that little
I have
Q,
Yes.
that
QR code. it's
QR
called.
code.
You put
Yeah.
your phone up to it?
Well,
Yeah, just flip your camera and then run it over the QR code. And from the top pops down this little box that says, "You want to go to hartforddecides.org?" Just tap on that, head over, click on the vote button, and
Okay.
Thank you.
It's your camera you put it
Yep.
against it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
oh really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Old school, but I'm learning.
listen, you and me both.
And me.
so we
Stan, I should mention that there will be at least 2 winning projects.
2 winning projects.
At least 2, because we have 40,000 to work with,
Mm-hmm.
and there's none of the projects are more than 20,000. So
okay.
there will be at least 2 winning projects. So when people go and cast their vote, they can vote. Everybody gets 2 votes.
Okay.
So your impact is even greater than if it was just 1.
All right. So you get to vote twice. in this election?
Well, no, you don't get to vote twice.
Oh, 2 votes.
Yeah.
You know,
You're getting
the
confused.
politician in me.
Yeah, really.
Vote
You
twice,
fill
vote
out one
often.
ballot. You fill out one ballot on which you can vote for 2 projects.
Okay, all right. It's sort of like voting for city council. All right. You vote once, but there are more than one choice.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. All right. So, HartfordDecides.org. For more information, you can call them at 860-256-8505. And you can start the vote right now. Vote for 2 projects. Look at them all, read them all, see what you think will work best, and then cast your vote. And then get ready for next year. All right. And every year, this has been going on for the last, 5 years? Last 6 years?
5.
Last 5 years.
This is our 5th year. Yep.
Wow. It seems like it started a longer than that, but 5 years is a very short time. Wow.
You know what they say, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Richard and Company, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And
Thank you for having us.
we will see you next year, if not sooner.
Great.
Good. Thank you, Stan.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day,
you.
you guys.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah,
Take care.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Don't work too hard in that office.
And vote. Everybody vote.
Oh, yes. All
Including
right.
Stan and Vicky and Cleo.
See ya.
I'm gonna vote as soon as I get off the air.
I'm doing a Facebook
Okay.
post about this.
Great.
And
Thank you
we'll
so
vote.
much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. All right. So Hartford Decides. That's pretty cool.
It sure is.
Every year they're doing, they do this every year, and it's
That tree project. I love trees. I think trees. Don't think I'm crazy, but I think trees have personalities.
You're a tree hugger.
And I love trees. And the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is say hello to the trees and the breeze and the way they're moving. And my son says, "Would you please stop looking at those trees?" But it was just something I used to sit and read under a tree. And I adopted a tree in Bushnell Park. And when I was teaching at First Church downtown, we used to go to Bushnell Park, the whole class, and everybody adopted a tree, and it was so much fun. And they have a tree project.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautifying the trees. What did he say? Beautifying the trees. What did it?
beautifying the trees.
What did he say about the trees? He said something about the trees.
What I think I'm gonna pull up, see if I can't pull up the site, and look at what some of the projects are. And
I would definitely vote for the trees.
and we'll and maybe we'll cast our vote right here on the air. That would be kind of interesting.
And when the sun is out, you can see that thing around the trees. Have you ever noticed that?
The aura.
Or around the trees when the sun is out. Sometimes you see this.
Well, trees are alive.
Yes, they are.
They're alive.
I used to say, "Tell me what you know." 100 years old. What do you know? I don't know.
They've seen a lot.
They've seen a lot, been through a lot.
Been
yeah.
through a lot. Maybe there's a record kept in the trees,
Yes,
like a
because
database or.
those little circles that tell us how old they are. There's knowledge in those. Oh, I remember I cut down a tree in my yard. It was a pine tree. Last time I will ever do that. And when you cut down the tree, this pine tree, the sap comes down. The sap kind of seeps out. It was like the tree was
like
bleeding.
crying and bleed. You
Oh, I felt terrible. I said I'd never ever
killed the tree.
I killed the tree. It was blocking the sun, so I said, well,
It wasn't blocking the sun. It was trying to live.
it was trying to live.
Look at Vicky.
I am just. I I'm doing my post here. We do a couple of things at once here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is the great thing. So I'm trying to push out about
Hartford
Decides and make sure that everybody, I gave a little overview of what the interview was all about. Now I'm directing people to the site to vote.
To vote. All right. Well, I'm going to try and find it and pull it up on the web. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. It's Morning Talk. Stick and stay. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, my name is Eddie Brown, Program Director at Hartford Communities That Care. I've been in the field of youth development and mentoring for the past 5 years, serving children, youth, young adults, and families. It has been an amazing experience since I have been on board with HCTC to help make a difference in the lives of our youth. Throughout my experiences, I've learned the importance of a good mentor, which is simply being the adult that has time for a child, who cares about that child, and who believes in that child. Here's a few points. Allowing the youth to understand their full potential, respects cultural differences, providing the prolonged relationship which helps the youth as they go through life, listens well, is stable, is a positive role model, nurtures a positive relationship that respects the mentee, reinforces mentee's success, shares decision-making with mentee, and last but not least, passion, wanting to make a difference. Practicing and applying these skills have been very vital in all the work I do to help assist and coordinate in the programs and services we offer at HCTC. I thank you for your time, and for all the mentors and role models out there, let's continue to be the change.
Okay. Welcome back. Now that's a beautiful tree right there.
Elizabeth Park?
Yes.
Yeah, I took a picture of that tree last year, and I was just looking at it the other day.
That's a beautiful tree right there. Morning Talk with me, your host, J. Stan McCauley, along with the champions of talk. We've got Cleo Duke-Wright. We have Vicky Fennell. And, of course, we've got you all out there. So we're here Monday through Friday. Lately, we've been putting a couple of great programs from the past on because we've had a lot of different great topics and things, and everyone hasn't seen them. So, but it's still good stuff. So, starting to put some of those interviews on. Scheduled for this Monday is the president of the Greater Atlanta NAACP. So that should be interesting.
Very interesting.
That should be interesting. And the subject's going to be crime. All right, crime, urban crime, which seems to be somewhat out of control, not unpredictably or unexpected. I mean, if you let everybody do whatever they want last year, what do you think's going to happen this year?
It's on steroids.
Yeah, that's what happens when you let kids come home and throw milk and cookies and have egg fights around the house. Then they'll think that that's okay.
Yeah, and the parents go on vacation, like our chief of police. It's a problem. Yeah.
Well, the chief is not the only one though. I think the chief, in terms of deploying a strategy, but the chief isn't the one breaking the law.
Well, of course not. No, his
job
is to enforce.
It's not the chief's fault or the mayor's fault. This is
about enforcement.
This is about enforcement and policies and decisions made by a whole group of folks that create an atmosphere where this kind of stuff can happen. Now, if you have strong communities, this doesn't happen either, because
you don't see it in West Hartford.
Ultimately, the community polices.
Right.
Yeah.
And if the community is okay with it, then it happens. So a lot could be said about the communities that this stuff is happening in.
Yeah, I've never even really seen it like this in all the years that I've lived here. I've never seen it like this, where we had streets blocked and people not able to get through. And no, this is something that I've never seen.
Well, these pop-up parties, remember how they used to have the pop-ups in the mall? That flash mob.
Yeah, flash mob.
Same thing. And the mall security couldn't stop this stuff. The store owners didn't like it. The people just had an attitude that they were going to get together, flash, and just pop up. Social media. You get on the phone. Everybody's going to meet at West Farms. We're going to meet at West Farms. We're going to meet at West Farms. And you get about 200-300 people, and all of a sudden everybody goes to West Farms, and you're all in the mall, and at 1:00 everybody starts singing a song. And it seems cute until stuff starts going wrong. And so they're having pop-up parties the exact same way. So you have to create I will agree with the mayor on this one point that he made at the Marge meeting, that they have to make it uncomfortable for people to do these things, because I think
it's just a matter of time before it's spilled out from the malls to the streets.
Well, it's on the street.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nobody paid attention when that was at the mall. The mall, the media was like, "Oh wow, look at this! This is neat." Well, then all of a sudden, it's seeped out into the street. Now it's not so.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have any control. What happened? Yeah. Remember, what was it? The something spring in Egypt.
Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring. That was a social media event. People got together through social media, and they literally overthrew a government.
Yeah.
This is not.
That needed to be overthrown.
Right. Well, when you're the guy, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, right? So when you're on the side of the people who are having the party, you think this is cool. I mean, I'm not trying to justify it, but I mean, it pays to understand a little bit of the sentiment. But if you create, in my opinion, if you create an atmosphere where people can express themselves in a way that turns into very disruptive environment, then you are sending a broader signal to people that certain activity is acceptable. Mm-hmm. And so people feel more free to do these things. You consider there's a whole group of folk who don't want to be involved in certain things because, give me go down there. I'm not even going to think about putting myself at risk. But then as they see stuff start happening, they say, well, maybe I will. Why not? And you get caught up in it.
So when you invite people to something on social media, you have no idea how many people are going to be there. I mean, there could be 10 people, there could be 10,000 people. You know, you have no idea.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
No way.
When you put it
Who
out
you're
there for
in-
public, yeah. That's
If
it.
you know, because I was just thinking in my head, you know, I did these spot storytellings, and I said, well, I want to tell some stories in Keeney Park, and I'm going to put it on social media, and I'm expecting maybe 10 people will come, maybe less, you know. So I don't care who comes. I'm going to go there and tell some stories. And if 1,000 people come or hundreds of people come, I would be shocked. But it's very, very possible that would happen, and I would have, and it would be, you know, then that's a whole different thing than because
But you're not blocking the streets. You're just in the park.
yeah,
You
but
know.
still, don't you need permits and this and that and the other thing? And
You
were
need
Yeah, you probably
permits, but you don't.
you
Actually,
have a responsibility at some point. What responsibility would I have to these people? What if, you know?
Maybe you should have a conversation with the city and and find out exactly before you put this out how you should do it.
so you
If
guys,
permits,
both of you are playing by the rules. Now, last I heard, you need to have an account to go to the bank and take money out. You
Well, that
can't just
depends.
go to the bank and take
depends
the
if
money.
you're a
Yeah,
robber.
right there.
If you're a
See,
robber,
if
you show up with up with an extra insurance policy, as Robert Redford said in the movie.
Right. Don't you need a license to sell goods and commodities on the street? A vendor license? You know, the drug dealers should be going downtown and getting a license. They can't just... No, actually, they actually can. So
Now they can. Yes, they can. Yeah.
well, with the cannabis. But you know, yeah, you're supposed to pull a permit.
Well, that
But
would have been a way
supposed
deal
to
with some
means
things here.
nothing when people have a mind
Yeah.
to just be lawless. And that's my issue.
Yes.
The attitude of lawlessness. Now, if you have a zero tolerance for lawlessness, it by no stretch of the imagination means that there won't be any. But if it's not there, then you're doomed. I mean, you got to have some standard. It's like a speed limit. You know, the speed limit, there's no speed limit on the Autobahn. If your car can go that fast, then it can go that fast. But you do put speed limits up some places because you don't want people exceeding the speed limit. If they go over the speed limit, you sanction them. But if you take the speed limit away, people will go any speed that they want. And then they'll feel that they can do whatever they want. And that's where you start having issues.
I go the speed limit, and believe me, so many people get mad at me
Oh yeah, they do.
every single day. People pass me on the right,
Let 'em go.
and I say, but I'm going to speed limit, even a little past the speed limit. So why are you getting so angry? But people get very angry. People get very angry with me, and so
Well, they get angry at anybody that follows the rules. You know, that's really what happens. And you follow. You know, I've seen it on the 91 when I'm heading down Route 2. You know, you give your signal to get over, and it's like, well, why? The attitude is, why aren't you going fast enough? And I'm like, you idiot! I'm giving you my signal to let you know that I'm coming off the exit. What part of this you don't understand? So I just sometimes sit there and go, okay, you want to play that game? I'll play that game too. And I slow right down. Then they get mad and they go around. I'm like, good.
you know,
You gonna start some road rage.
I used to do those things, Vicky. I do not do those things anymore. Believe me.
care.
Talk about road rage. I was road rage. My children used to say, "But Ma, you go to church. Ma, you're a church lady." But I used to be so mad. I used to, you know, and do that same thing. Slow down. But you know what I do now? If someone's really on my back, I simply, if I could possibly do it, I pull over.
If
Yeah.
you can.
Side.
If you can.
That's what
If
I
I
do.
can.
I pull over.
Yeah,
I pull over
if
to
I can.
the
Yeah.
side, and I said, you know, go.
Go
if
for it.
I actually am going too slow, which maybe sometimes I do, and I look up and I see someone like going out of their mind, I do speed up. I speed up because I am going too slow. So I will speed up. But if I'm going the speed limit or a little past the speed limit and they're going crazy in the back of me, if I could pull over, I'd pull over, and I just let them have it. And they're shaking their heads at me, and I've learned how to smile and say, "Okay, have a great day, bye."
Well, you know, we live in a time when it seems like lawlessness is in vogue. You know, as Vicky suggested, people, if you're obeying the rules, something is wrong with you, and that's kind of where we are in society. People don't want to follow the rules. If you're following the rules, it's like, oh, you're a conformist. Oh, you think you're a goody-goody. And so everything now is pushing the outer envelope, you know. And we had a pop-up party last weekend right in that parking lot down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning.
How many people?
The parking lot was full. It was full. I was sitting in my office, right? And our neighbor decided to have the people come and work on the front of his house. There's a law office next to us. And so they trimmed up everything, and they were cutting weeds and the parking lot over there. And so they had all these industrial tools out there. It's 7:30 in the morning. And, you know, they were all loud. I was awake because I was in my office. And I hear all this music. I'm saying, now that guy's got to turn his stereo down. He's just out in front of the house blasting his music as loud as it can get in his car. So I look out the window. You know, I'm thinking it's either a guy in his car or else these guys. I'm like, I can't believe he's got the music up after blowing the sidewalk and lawnmower and all this other stuff, and now he's got the music up twice as loud as that. So look out, there's no, it's down the street. I mean, people were coming out of their apartments looking like, what in the world? There's a whole pop-up party. Just boom. People call the police and stuff, so the police came and they jumped on it, and tamped it down. That's the only way you can do this.
Right.
You got to get it right in the beginning and set the standard, because once it gets out of control,
it's actually a noise ordinance.
There's no way. The noise ordinance allows you to sanction them. It doesn't stop.
Right.
So people violate the noise ordinance all night long in some parts of the city.
I've seen it happen. I remember once we had a party on my street, and you know, we don't play around on my street. I mean, people call in on a lot of things in Blue Hills, that's for sure. And the police came. They sent I think about 3 or 4 cars, and this woman, one of the neighbors, she's no longer there. And she says, well, I didn't know all these people were going to show up to the party. And the policeman said, well, you know what? It's your party. You're supposed to know who's going to show up. He says, I'm writing you a ticket. So he wrote up a ticket, you know, obviously for a citation for the event. And then they got in contact with the owner of the house. And it wasn't too long after that, she was gone.
Well, I mean, that's one way to handle the problem. I mean, you know, if you're the owner of the house and you got tenants that are unruly, then it begins to affect the community. And this is where community works. See, the community ultimately is the policing agency. Yes. The officers are just sworn and authorized to enforce those community standards, and they have the power to arrest, detain, and hold for trial individuals who break the law. But it's not really the police department's job to create all that. They are the enforcers of the law. The community is the one that really has to step up to the plate.
I see.
Because in some communities, this is absolutely
not going to happen.
Not going to happen because the community won't stand for it.
In the community that I work in, it's in West Hartford, you know, the community that I work in. I mean, if they hear a siren, the neighbors start calling each other. What's going on? What's going on? If something happens down the street, the neighbors, they all have telephone contact, you know. They stay in they stay connected all of the time. And if someone's in trouble, people come. And the thing that gets me is there are a lot of dogs in this neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think one of those people would walk their dog and have them poop on someone's lawn and not pick it up?
They're not poop on my lawn. I catch 'em.
Everybody picks up their dog poop. Everybody just, watches what they do. I have not seen one person, I've been here for 5 years, anybody walk their dog and not be respectful to somebody else's property.
Well, see, that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But those are standards that are enforced by
The community.
the community.
Yes.
The community enforces those standards, not the police department,
Right.
not the mayor or the city manager or the police
the
chief.
NRZs,
The community
you talk
does
about
that.
the dog poop. I mean,
And
the NRZs could be the ones really dealing with those kinds of issues. I mean,
And every dog is on a leash.
Right, but
Every dog is on a leash.
but it takes community.
right.
Community has to be the agency that moves this forward. Your neighborhood revitalization zones, they may bring up issues that to the forefront and make them important, but they're not the enforcement agency. The ultimate enforcers are you. When you hear these noises and things that are going on, and then you get in touch with, you call the police. Now, I was coming down Weathersfield Avenue the other day. Yesterday? 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I was coming down Weathersfield Avenue. Let's say Friday, it must have been Wednesday. Coming down Weathersfield Avenue Wednesday, just before you get to Buckley High School, going toward downtown. I don't know what's going on, but it was a serious scuffle. And, it was a group, I think it was like 5 women, 2 guys, and this one woman was beating the living daylights out this other woman. I'm like, what in the world? This is on Weathersfield Avenue. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Right? People are on their porch watching.
And not doing nothing.
Not doing it. Well, the woman apparently had tried to take her stuff. So she was out there cussing the woman out. You stole my, all the expletives are flying back and forth. You stole my stuff. Right? And the woman was on the ground and she had taken possession of her stuff back. She says, you lucky I don't call the police on you. My point in bringing that up is everyone knows who you call if there is an issue. Even people who have problems with the police, the first person they call when they feel that their rights or something's been violated are the police, because they're the only ones qualified and authorized to arrest somebody. And it doesn't matter who you are. You could be the mayor, you could be the governor, you could be the president of the United States. If you have violated the law, the police are the only people who are authorized to arrest and detain you, and authorized to use deadly force. All right, because you can make a citizen's arrest, but that can be very, very dangerous. All right, so, but ultimately, if you allow it to go on, then it's going to go on. If you don't call and complain about your neighbors making noise, then they'll make noise. You can't expect the police to just suddenly be driving down your street, hear the noise, know that the noise shouldn't be happening, knock on the door and say, you're disturbing your neighbors. If you don't call the police, how are they going to know? All right. That's different if you call the police and they tell you, well, we don't have time to be bothered with that. Now we got that's a whole nother level. All right. But
it's all right. We don't have enough manpower to get up to where you're at.
Right.
In Hartford, I guess maybe we don't, because we're supposed to have 500. We got 250 or whatever.
No, we're down to about 400. Four in the low, 4 390, somewhere like that.
Does it include the retirees, or what does that include?
No, it doesn't include the retirees.
Okay, so the retirees.
We're way below what
staffing levels. Yeah,
we're way below what we're authorized to have. But even still, there are people who say that is still way too much. So why
do they say that? What's their reasoning?
Because they're concerned that you cannot police your way out of the issue, and they think that the police are abusive, authoritarian.
Well, not all.
And enforcers. We're not talking about all. We're talking about the fact that that's where they believe. So you have to take the argument from their point of view.
What the police are now, as you talk, I'm thinking the people think the police are one thing, and they're out to do whatever they ordered to do. And so what is really their position? What would be their mindset? I mean, is their mindset they want us to stop this situation in any means necessary?
Or do you want it to keep going?
Or do you want it to keep going? What position is the police in? Because
they're in a tight spot.
They're kind of in the middle here.
Yeah.
They're kind of in the middle.
I don't think the police are in the middle.
Okay.
I think the police have
They have very specific functions what they're supposed to do.
Right. The police have a job.
Right.
In my little narrow mind, the police are no more than the agents of a restaurant. You go in a restaurant, there's a waiter, there's the bus staff that comes and cleans the plates, there's the management, there's the people who prepare the product in the back and cook the food. Now, you don't come in a restaurant and expect them to know what you want. You should know what I want. I come here all the time. Well, I was just asking, what do you want? They're there to prepare for you whatever is on the menu. Sometimes they can maybe change the menu a little bit. The police will enforce the law. That's their job, to enforce the law. It's not their job to be ever present everywhere and look for people who are violating the law so that they can go out and arrest them. They're authorized by the community to be the official agents that if you have a problem or if I have a problem, I can call them and then they will come and they will do their job. Right. But they can't be expected to just do now their presence as officers will cause certain people to say, hey, it's the police. Chill out.
That used to be the case. I don't know if that's the case now.
It is in some places.
Well, on my corner, when the police show up, all of a sudden it
does disappear. Well, sometimes even if they just park the cruiser, my father used to always say,
that's all they
sometimes do. He says sometimes you don't even have to get out of the car. You can cruiser. He said you just park the cruiser somewhere. He says, and that's enough. But I think a lot of times people really don't know what the police really do, and they just assume that because of certain media reports that they all behave like that. I mean, I think one of the things that some cities do, and Hartford has never done this, at least that I'm aware of, is they actually have a citizens police academy where people come in, the residents come in and learn about what the police really do. And I think that's important because our tax dollars are paying for this. But, again, I have inside knowledge because my dad did the job for 32 years, but most people don't have that inside knowledge. They don't understand that, they just say, well, all they do is arrest people and shoot people. No, they don't do that. There are other things that go on in the police department. There are certain departments that have certain functions. And if you don't know that as an outsider, that's what you see the media. That's what's portrayed.
Well, I think the police have
and that was suggested, I understand, by our friend Kevin Brookman. Let's get this started, but it fell on deaf ears.
Well, even if they had a class of 20, once a week, and it was full once a week.
Only people that are interested are going to take advantage of it.
Right. So
we understand that.
Right. But I think that irrespective of people not knowing what the people don't know what priests do. They think that priests are pedophiles and all they do is attack little children.
That's the whole point.
But I don't think entities that do good work need to defend themselves from naysayers. They're always going to be around, and it's a distraction and pulls you off your point to defend the insignificant squabbles of minor few you give them wings to fly.
Well, I don't know if they're defending. I just mentioned that as
right.
I don't think that those particular towns are defending. I think they looked at it as a way to educate and enlighten their residents. But
it is. But the police have a function.
Yeah, they do.
My point is that greater agency than the police are the actual citizens in the community. And if the citizens allow certain activities, then certain activities will happen.
Well, that's what's happening.
And
that is
the
what is
citizens are the ones that ultimately have the charge. Now, if you have citizens who are engaged in asking for things to change and there's nothing happening, now we have a problem with the police. That, to me, that's when you have a problem with the police. I don't consider it a problem with the police if you're on the corner selling drugs and the police roll up on you with a heavy hand. To me, that's not a policing problem. That's a you selling drugs on the corner problem.
That's a criminal.
That's a criminal. And you running a criminal enterprise and they're rolling down on you. You don't think that's fair. Well, you're not supposed to be selling drugs on the corner. You don't steal stuff. You don't have to put up with the ramifications of stealing stuff. What was it? Tony Beretta. Remember Beretta?
The show? Beretta.
Beretta.
Yeah.
And
Robert Blake. Yeah.
Robert Blake, and was Sammy Davis sang the song.
That's right. Don't do the time if you can't do the crime.
Don't do it. No, no. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The eye on the sparrow. No, narrow. Right. Yeah. So, if don't do the crime.
If you can't.
If you can't do the time. It's real simple. Now, everybody wants to be able to get away with the maximum, whatever it is they're doing, without consequence. I have zero sympathy for the drug dealer that gets caught and has to deal with whatever happens. Don't sell drugs. You ain't no sympathy. The police. No. Mm-mm. Stop doing wrong.
Get legit, man.
Right. So
There's a lot of enterprises you can get involved in. You don't have to do that.
Right. So when the criminal element starts setting the standard, then the criminal community starts being the community that is in charge of stuff.
That's right.
And so
you start looking like a third world country with these gangs and all of this stuff, and you've seen it on TV. Next thing you know, you got people taking over. Mm-mm.
Right. And so if you got people taking over whole cities and whole sections of the city, then before long you lose control. And that circles back to where we were at the beginning, where you have folk just running around just doing wild stuff, the pop-up parties, blocking the street, having cookout in the middle of the street in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. to start partying. And I guess if you're in that mindset, all this kind of recklessness is fun, but that is not.
Yeah, I mean, you would listen to the news. Didn't you hear the response of some of the people? Well, we're just having a good time. Really?
Did Castro make a city for these people?
Who?
Did Castro make a city for these people?
Fidel?
Yes, for the drug addicts and all of this.
He sent them to the United States. That's what.
He developed and they had to stay there. It had everything they needed, but they had to stay there. Do you remember?
Then the boat lift happened, and then he let everybody out.
Oh, I don't. I'm unfamiliar with that.
That was the 80s.
That may be the case. There's different ways to deal with this. Fidel Castro was a dictator, so you can do things in a country with strong authoritarian leadership that you can't do in a democracy where people get to choose their leaders and also have a great amount of influence over what happens within their community. The community standard is set by the members of the community. It's not set by the mayor. It's not set by the police. It's not set by the city council. It's set by the community. There are certain things you can and cannot do in certain communities. You go into certain communities and get your rear end liquidated if you don't act a certain way. And you know, whether they're criminal communities or or a nunnery, you know, there's certain ways you have to behave. There's certain like, you know, if you're a police officer, there's certain rules of conduct. If you're a doctor, there's certain rules of conduct. If you're a nurse, if you're a minister, if you're sitting in the C-suite at the corporate level, there's certain bankers. Everybody's got their rules of conduct. And if you don't uphold those rules, it doesn't take long before you're on the outside looking in. I don't care what the circle is. Same thing in a community. If the community allows these things to happen, then they will happen. When the community gets fed up with stuff will stop. It'll stop. There's a reason why all these people come to Hartford to do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
They can't do it anywhere else.
Yeah, it's an open door policy.
Right.
I mean, anytime you got a guy coming in from Farmington, dropping off evidence of a crime on Albany Avenue, he knew exactly where to come to do that. Well, I can kill my wife and drop this stuff in Albany Avenue. You think anybody's going to notice in Hartford?
Well, everybody knows.
He wasn't aware that there were cameras catching him, but
right.
The fact is, he knew to come to Hartford. It's almost like a welcome mat.
They didn't find any evidence, though.
Well, they found blood. They found some articles with blood that belonged to Jennifer. But that's the perception of outside of the city.
There's lawlessness here. There's a sense that you can get away with stuff, and my example of it are just folks riding around the city with motorcycles and off four-wheel vehicles.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And you know, when you were riding, I saw this week. 3 motorcycles in a quad riding up Main Street right in front of City Hall doing wheelies. You would never do that in Wethersfield, in front of Wethersfield City Hall, which is connected to the police station. You did? Well, it's not really connected to the police station. The police station is down the way. But you wouldn't do that in Wethersfield. They just wouldn't. People drive the speed limit in Wethersfield.
Right.
And they don't have their radios blasted. Because there's a consequence. So if people know where they can get away with certain things and where they can't, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. So you have to change that paradigm. You have to change that paradigm. You know, I think that, and I've been told this by a couple of police officers, one of the best ways to do that, the traffic division.
Right. That's what Dad says.
The traffic division. Probably the one part of the police department is like at the bottom of the list.
It's one of the most important functions.
Yeah, traffic. You know, stopping people here and there, and checking license plates, and just interfering with people's goings and comings, and you're interacting with the policing agency in a way that's non-confrontational, but they're present. And there's just something about when the police pull you over that gets your full attention.
Yes. Definitely.
Most people don't pop off at the police. They just don't. They don't. Most people don't.
No.
That takes to me a level of arrogance. You can't.
Why are you
stop
stopping me?
Right. You do.
He'll tell you why he's stopping.
You see that on TV, but you don't see it in real life. You don't see that. I've never seen that.
People getting all crazy? Or?
Yeah, I got stopped in East Hartford. It was after midnight. I was leaving a friend's house, and they had these people pulled over to the side there, and so the police officer came up to me and said, "Have you been drinking?" I said, "No, I haven't been drinking." He said, "All right, go ahead."
I remember once I got stopped over on Westland Street. And it was a very hot day, and policemen stopped. They were doing the stop, and he says, "Have you been drinking?" I said, "Does water count?" And he said, "Well, that's not exactly the beverage we were looking for." I said, believe it or not, that's the only thing I have in my car today. He says, I know you haven't been drinking, but I had to ask you anyway. He said, have a nice day. And I said, you too, be safe, But, I mean,
some people don't have incidents with, I don't have incidents with policemen. Most policemen that I meet are very courteous and very,
absolutely,
very nice to me. Maybe it's my gray hair, I don't know. But I've never really had that much of a problem with police officers. I remember when we got together from Westbrook Village and the square, and those guys used to come over to Westbrook Village. They used to always be surprised that there weren't policemen there. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know this until I got grown, and they said, well, one of the reasons we came to Westbrook Village is because there were no policemen all around, and that you didn't have to take turns on the basketball court. And we had movies every Tuesday or Wednesday in the summertime. So we both lived in projects, but they felt that Westbrook Village was not a project. They felt we lived in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. I always thought I lived in a project. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know that until I got grown, that what they thought. And they would come, and they never acted up, and they acted just like we acted when they were in Westbrook Village. And when we went there, of course, we acted just the way we act.
People have a tendency to adjust their behavior so that they fit into the surroundings. Every once in a while, you get the outlier whose purpose in life is to be different. No matter where they are, they're going to be the one that's totally different from there, the non-conformist. But most people want to conform. As much as people say they like to be individual and different, folks generally wear the same kind of styles, the same cut of hair styles. I mean, there's no one running around today with a bouffant.
Except in Texas, honey.
Well, in Texas, you better have a bouffant and a big hat.
That's right.
Or you won't be accepted. So, depending upon where you are, there's certain things that people have. Some people have their cars all low. Others have those big, mufflers on them.
Jacked up in
right.
Los
Others
Angeles.
got big trucks. So, I mean, there's certain signals you send out to say, I'm part of the community. Language is used. The dialects are used. Certain code language
from a certain place. Every time I used to go to Miami, and I would meet people, and the first thing they would say is, "You're not from around here, are you?" And I said, "Nope." I said, "Is that a bad thing?" But my grandmother is. She lives right over there.
You gotta find something that let people know you do belong here.
Even around here, if you speak differently, they say, "Hey, you know."
Where are you from?
Where are you from? Or I hate this comment. I really hate this comment when people say that you're speaking like white folks.
Oh.
I really hate that. We can only speak one way. We can only talk one way. Yeah. We can only, or when you talk to someone on the phone and then you go to meet someone.
That's always the funny. That's the funniest part.
And they realize that you're black.
That happened to my father. This guy said to him over the phone when he was in the department. He says, you gotta keep these folks in line, And he says, so guy says, well, so he said, so guy said, well, I'll be down to see you. He said, well, he says, good. He says, I want you. He says, when you come to the front office, make sure that you ask for me. And when he came to the police station, this man came to the police station. He says, I think my dad was a captain. Is Captain Fennell here? So they said, just a moment, we'll get him for you. And when my father came into that room, look on that guy's face. So he just, he's used to this. Yeah. So the guy said, well, I did. And he says, I knew you didn't know who I was. Well, how can we help you? Well, he didn't say, well, I'm not going to help you because you made those remarks. He just was a professional. He just said, how can we help you today, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my son tells the story of his last name was Rotham, and so they thought Rotham was a white guy when he went into the army, and they separated the white.
Yes.
And that was not so many. They separated the white from the black. So he said they thought he was white, so they put him over there with the white guy. So he had his bunk over with the white guys, and the black guys were over here. And so the black guys are looking at him. He said, he's looking at him saying, I didn't do this. But they put his bed right next to the latrine. And he said they would go back and forth into the bathroom and hit his bunk. And when he said the smells that came out of that latrine all night long, but eventually he said they put him over there with the with the black guys, but they thought he was a white guy.
Yeah, people want to be around type. We self-select who we're going to be around a lot of times. Communities, there are individuals who want to be a part of a broader community where there's a mix, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also people who want to be around type.
Well, yeah, and that's
natural.
Yeah,
That's a natural thing.
Yeah, you go like, for example, you go to New York City, for example. Everybody has every ethnic group has their little neighborhood, little enclaves. You got Chinatown, you've got Crown Heights, you've got Staten Island, you've got Harlem.
Why do they complain when we sit together? Do you remember how they used to say,
why are all the black
all the
kids
blacks sitting together? Well, everybody else is sitting together.
But that's the whole thing. See, the perception is we are not supposed to come together and be unified. And so that is threatening. We're being honest here. That is threatening to some people. No one has still been able to articulate that to me. It doesn't seem to bother you when Asian people sit together. It doesn't bother you when Latino people sitting together. It doesn't bother you when people from the Middle East sit together. But it only bothers you when blacks sit together.
Well, see, it doesn't bother me that it bothers them. So
I don't really care. Right. I'm going to sit with whoever the hell I want to sit with, and who I'm comfortable sitting with. And like I remember this came up when I was in college, where we had a gentleman who was running for the student body, and he came to speak to the African American students organization, and that was one of the things that he said. You got all these groups sitting together, and so finally a friend of mine said, well, I can't speak for those other groups. He says, but when we sit together, we're sitting together because we're trying to get something done. And if that bothers you, well, then that's on you.
Well, I think that people like type. I've had friends of mine who are not African American who will say, and they're not white either.
Yes.
So they'll say, the problem with African Americans is that they are always, they're not inclusive. We are all part of a broader, we're all impacted by quote unquote oppression of quote unquote white people. Right. And we have to come together. Now, if I were to suggest that they shouldn't speak Spanish, they would be put off beyond measure.
Well, but I mean, but
and rightly they should. But I think people want what is in what they perceive their best interest, and that's all natural and that's good. I always say, look, you can ask for anything. You have a right to ask for anything. The asker is not the problem. It's the one who acquiesces to the request that's the problem. So, yes, there are organizations and institutions who are there primarily to move forward issues that are concerning to people of color. And there are issues and organizations that move forward for concerns of people who are whose lineage comes from the captivity of American slavery. That's different than other people who are brown in the United States. There's totally unique. And so there's nothing wrong with entities fighting for those things. Right. Now, I am not in the LGBTQ plus community. I have friends who are. All right. I can't imagine that community embracing somebody, well, such as myself for a leadership position. Not as a fundamental, Bible thumping Christian who might be at variance with certain things within that community. That doesn't mean I can't have friends in the community. That doesn't mean that I can't respect people for being individuals. But to suggest that I should be in the community as a leader, setting vision and policy, when my vision and policy is going to be diametrically opposed, it would be absurd. It would be absurd. It doesn't mean we can't all fight for clean water, but if we're fighting for the things that are near and dear to our hearts, you're not in the same room.
Yeah, I
don't think that we need to defend. I think once you go into defensive posture to contend for the things that are near and dear to your heart, to me, you've already lost the battle, because they pull you off point. They don't defend themselves. Why? So why do we? If that's how people feel, then they have to get over it.
That's it. Just get over it. I mean, our experiences here have been different than everyone else's, and therefore, I mean, there's nothing wrong with working with other people on common goals, common interests, but our interests are not your interests.
There you go.
And you have to understand that our interests are not your interests. Now, you have your interests. Fine. That's great. Where we can come together on interests that are common, we should come together.
And I think that is so important, because if you abandon your interest for mine, I win and you lose.
No.
See, so the argument is, now see, there you go, fighting for your interests when we should be fighting for each other. Whoa, hold up.
Wait a minute now. That's right.
hold up. How is that helpful? How's that helpful to her?
Well, I think what happens when we start, especially in terms of discrimination and everything, I mean, we as African Americans bear the brunt of this kind of behavior. So therefore, we have to fight harder. Like I've always said, we're like racial shock absorbers, for lack of a better term. So we take the biggest hit. By the time it gets to the other guy down the street here, he says, well, that guy's not so bad. I mean, I didn't really feel it. Yeah, no, well, of course you didn't feel it, because we took it first.
I mean, we're the Kevlar.
That's right.
Yeah, we're the bulletproof vest.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, by the time he gets to you, he's not so much an SOB. By the time he gets to you, well, he's bad, but he's not that bad.
We're always on the front line. We're always on the front line.
We're on the front line. That's right.
And
so therefore, we have to push.
Why are we always on the front line?
Well, I think we're always on the front line because our issues are we are of the groups that are in the United States, we're the ones whose legacy goes back to, quote unquote, the original sin of the country.
Right.
And so since the country's wealth was made off of forced labor, that is something you can't get away from. Now, others who may come to the country or be here who are suffering, and the only one that supersedes that would be the indigenous people, or the native the American Indians.
Right.
So beyond the American Indians and African Americans, through captivity, are not the diaspora, those who came through the captivity, those individuals have a unique historical relationship with the country. It is not the same as everybody else's.
The others came over here by choice, and you often hear, and you'll hear this from Europeans in particular, they'll always say, well, my grandfather came over here from Ireland. Yes, that's great. He did come over here.
But he wasn't brought here as a captive. He
wasn't brought here. He made a choice, and that's the difference between immigrants after the two groups that you mentioned. They make choices to come to this country.
Well,
indigenous. Not indentured slaves. There were many indentured
Right,
slaves
indentured
out
Indentured
in
servants,
Europe.
right?
Indentured.
But it was only for a short period of time.
Right.
Actually, we came. It was also meant to be a short period of time, but they decided that it would be indefinite.
Well, even after you got your freedom, you still
there
there was Jim Crow.
Well, you know,
so there was always,
the bottom line is economic advantage. You
Right.
know, I always talk about mechanical slaves that we all have. Our car is a mechanical slave.
Right.
You know, it's just a machine that does what you want it to do. It gets no glory. And as artificial intelligence comes on board and you're having more and more of these robots introduced where there will be, you know, robotic, like, you know, Android type things serving people within the next 10 years. It'll be in your house. Now imagine if it all of a sudden was granted sanctity and uniqueness of its own. And now it demands recompense from you. You might have a hard time processing that. Now, we're human beings. I'm not trying to make no excuses, but where folk are greedy and will kill to get what they want, to killing a human being don't mean nothing. So, and I think that's the difference. To me, it's not so much that they chose to come here. It's that there's a lineage of individuals who are the descendants of forced labor. You were here as a slave to do labor for which you were not rewarded and for which tremendous wealth came to the degree that a whole country that could dominate the world, that would be the United States of America. And that was done on free labor. And so that makes our relationship with the country different. So when we contend for things, we're contending from that lens. It doesn't matter who doesn't accept it or see it, because you don't have to defend with others who you're not contending with. They're not the agency that decides whether or not you're going to get what you're asking for. So why you waste your time defending yourself against them? They're just naysayers, and there always will be naysayers. So our history is different. And if I'm contending for something and you're contending for something, and both of us are contending against, quote unquote, the oppressor, what you want and what I want, we can come to a point of consensus. But I don't have to abandon what I'm asking for to help you. And that's where people go. They are always saying, well, you guys are always, you know, we need to work together. Well,
There's nothing.
you don't need to ask me to work together with you. Volunteer.
That's right.
You know, when someone is asking you to work together with them, that means that they want you to stop whatever it is you're doing to help
What
them.
they do.
Yeah.
Right.
And at the end, you don't get anything out of the deal.
Right, because you're the one making the compromise.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, we see
How long
this in this city here with blacks and Latinos. I mean, they do say that. Why don't we work together? Well, wait a minute. Well, there are interests here. There are common goals here. You can come over to our side, and we can work together on this. What's the problem? What's the problem? Nobody, you see? I'm not going to abandon our issues here, because our issues, like I say, are our issues. Your issues are your issues. Okay. So what are the areas where you think we can work together?
There, yes. Right.
So identify, my suggestion would be to our Latin brothers and sisters, what are the issues that we can work on together in this city cooperatively? So what are they? Identify them. Then we come together and we work on those. Now, you don't abandon your community's issues, and I don't abandon my community's issues, but what are the ones that we can intersect together and work on?
And that it can only be that way. There's no other way it can be, because there's no consensus if you abandon your cause to lift up someone else's cause. And unfortunately, black folk have a bad habit.
Yes.
Going to help
doing
somebody else.
Right. And we see
And
this.
you lay down your child
Yes,
to
yes,
go
yes,
help them
yes. Amen.
rescue theirs, and
That's
then
right,
meanwhile your
that's right.
child is eaten alive by the tiger.
Well, I mean, and we can talk about this openly here. For example, with the illegal immigrant situation, you see some of our elected officials, particularly African Americans, get all bent out of shape over this issue. And I'm saying, well, wait a minute. We got issues, and again, the Vice President of the United States makes statements a couple of weeks ago when she goes to Guatemala talking about, well, we need to get to the root causes of why these people are coming to this country. We need to identify the root causes of why we have the situations in our inner cities first before we start talking about bringing some people across the border. Okay? We have not addressed the issues in our inner cities, Madam Vice President. So you're getting upset over that? Let's get upset over what's happening in the inner cities. You got things that are happening in Chicago, San Francisco, all these places, Detroit, Miami, all these places, Hartford, and that doesn't upset you? But you're upset over some people who are running over here illegally. They're not following the rules of the country to get in here. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Okay, and you're getting upset over that. And then she's not the only one. There are others who have forgotten here.
I just said this is going to change the subject a little bit if you don't.
Yeah.
What do you think about the holiday, the new
Juneteenth?
Yeah. When I heard about it, and everybody's saying hip hip hooray, I have some
mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, I really.
Yeah,
a holiday. What I have
is it more political or is it?
I don't know what it is.
I mean, it's an educational opportunity. I mean, I think it's great that it's getting the recognition that it deserves. And there's a teaching moment there.
Is it just a day off of work and we're gonna go?
What are we going to do as
go
a
out
result
and have
of
a
that?
picnic? Because I don't feel that way about this.
Yeah.
Go out and have a picnic, or is it a time that we could, as a people? Now I'm not thinking about anybody else. I'm just thinking about us.
Yeah.
Okay. As a people to gather together and teach our children, and show them the picture or tell them the story. The day we tell the story, I think it should be the day we tell the story or something. I don't know.
What I saw last night on Lester Holt's nightly news, in Galveston, Texas, that is what they're doing. I mean,
that's the only thing that
they have really done a great job in terms of education and outreach to the community out there. So,
well, they're at ground zero.
They're at ground zero, right? And there are some people that don't want anything, who are outside of the community, don't want anything to do with it. This idiot called in on WTIC radio, and she sounds like she's so, highly all of this. And she said, well, why are we doing this? Well, nobody asked her to celebrate it anyway.
Well, I mean,
if you want to,
she's
if you want
she's
to.
a naysayer.
Yeah, she is.
There's always naysayers.
I mean, go back out there in the woods and go do what you do out there.
Just us. We're gonna celebrate Juneteenth. Us. It's gonna be our holiday, and let us do something with it. But for the oppressor,
nobody's asking him.
a holiday.
Yeah.
For 300 years of slavery. I mean, to me, it's absurd. I mean, does it make sense to me?
I was really surprised at how he signed the bill. It's like he didn't even know what was happening. They made him. They took the pen.
How could he make it a holiday? How could he?
He didn't make it a holiday. It went through.
Well, because the people lobbied. The people lobbied for this with their representatives, and so the representatives responded.
A holiday.
I think
for us, like the Million Men March,
right?
That day, the Million Men March, when we all stayed home, when we all stayed out of stores, when we all just stayed and sort of watched and talked.
Talk into your mic.
Oh, walked and talked, and we went to different programs, and we did. We did that.
Nothing stops us. I don't think anything stops us from.
So I'm not against it.
Yeah, I think it's like the King holiday,
in a kind of a funny way.
But I think it's like the King holiday. I think you can take the same analysis of you celebrate the life and legacy and the work of this man. In this case, we reflect, we educate, and then decide what it is that we're going to do moving forward. So I mean that's the way that I approach it. For those that want to be involved, who are from the larger community, great, fantastic. For those who don't, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I mean, this is our situation. This is our holiday. Then let's make it work.
See,
in a good way.
I probably shouldn't say this, okay, but I will say this anyway. I really don't want them to celebrate with me.
I can hear that you're upset and distressed over this.
I don't want them to celebrate.
I think that
it's a national holiday now.
It's a national holiday. I know that, but
you feel like it's something. You feel like something is being taken away.
I think it loses something.
I don't think so. I think we can retain our cultural relevance to this.
I think that people are making way too much out of this. We have Memorial Day. We have President's Day.
Yeah.
The nation
they don't even celebrate the President's Day. I mean, it's like you celebrate, but I mean, what are the people doing? They just stay home.
I think we're too concerned about what other folk think. How do you want to process it? What works for you is all that really matters, because you don't have any control over anyone else.
No, right. So I'm just saying for me.
Right.
All right,
and I understand where you're coming from.
I'm not saying that I'm against the holiday. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying for me, all right, I'll say it this way. For me and how I would celebrate the holiday and how I plan to celebrate it with my grandchildren and what is a teaching moment, a prayerful moment, and then a picnic.
All right, I think. Well, for me, to answer your question,
I just I don't know.
For me, I think that one, in order to have a federally recognized holiday, it has to go through the legislature. It has to go through that process. And I think what the president said was appropriate. He said that hopefully this will be a beginning. That's all it can be. All right. Holidays are an opportunity for people to be off, period. If you have some deep attachment to it, then it becomes meaningful to you. Yes. One man's holiday is another man's wasted time. So it depends on where the head of the person is, and then it degenerates into talking points where people can get very, very emotional and very, very passionate, and people get in fights over what holiday they're going to celebrate. They just had a big fight in a school in New Jersey, board, because they took away Columbus Day, and then they decided to take away all of the holiday names.
Oh, no.
So as to play all these all they're doing is, all this is degenerating into an emotional
people walked out
disintegration of the country, because people are retreating to their own corners in terms of ideology, political positions, and we're no longer a country that is governed by law and consensus. We don't all get along. We don't all agree. We agree to disagree. When we no longer agree to disagree, then we embrace cancellation and neutralization of opposing points of view. Since I don't agree with you, you shouldn't be breathing my air.
Yeah.
And then we employ the Cain and Abel system. Oh, I got something for you, Abel. God like what you got? I got you. And now he's been neutralized. And so now we're into cancel culture. If I don't like something that you like, we're going to cancel that.
Yeah. And social media has been the driving force with this too. I mean, that's where it started. Oh, well, we don't like what you said about COVID, so therefore we're going to cancel.
But that's very, very real.
Yeah, see, again, the censorship, that's dangerous.
But see, that's not censorship. Not in the broad term. The government isn't censoring you.
No, but those
People
yeah.
are censoring you.
Yeah.
They're canceling you. If you say, if any three of us right now, with the very few people that are watching, if we say the right thing, it could make national news. And people be over here burning our houses down. Because you said, did you hear what they said? Next thing, there's a whole campaign to cancel you.
Yeah.
They can force people out of town like they did back in the old West.
Yeah.
You got till 9 o'clock to get you and your family out of town. After that, we're going to burn your house down. And if you're in it, then so be it. And I mean,
dangerous.
That's a very dangerous place for a society to come to, where there's no longer tolerance for anything that's different. And so I think that, as it pertains to Juneteenth, it acknowledges the official end of slavery, and that the last people to hear that they were free finally heard it. And they're recognizing it as a national holiday. Some people are going to be upset about it. Others won't even know that it's a holiday. And so people don't even know what Juneteenth is. I know people who are celebrating Juneteenth, not even African Americans.
Yep.
They think it's a holiday for black people. They don't know. They don't know.
No.
And so there's a lot of people have misconceptions, and so you're going to take the time to teach them what it is so that they can really appreciate celebrating it. I don't think it's worth all that. If you feel that
people
way,
are interested, they'll go on Google,
right?
And
they'll learn.
And you're already seeing. I mean, when I went on last night, people started Googling what Juneteenth is. That's a start right there.
All right, so I guess it's good that it's a holiday, because it says that the United States is coming to a place where the change is slowly coming around. I think that it's more political than anything else.
Oh, for sure.
I say that if you want to judge the country, if you want to judge the United States on whether or not real moral changed that the moral fortitude, moral compass pointing true north, that can only be reflected when you see the United States as a government, or as a nation, as an entity, do right by the indigenous people. Until that happens,
right,
it's all for show, for political gain, or leverage with particular groups. It's always done. It's not done because it's the right thing. It's done because it's the politically correct thing, and a means by which to appease. If you ever want to do right, nothing stops you from doing right, ever. No one has to. You don't need anyone's permission to do the right thing. The way the country has treated the indigenous people is something for which that's the original sin.
Right.
The original sin is the annihilation of, is the genocide of the indigenous people, and how they've never, ever been duly compensated for their loss. And so everyone here is guilty. See, as long as your house is on indigenous land and you're not giving it up for nobody, you're guilty. So, I mean, we all have our part in some way in doing something that benefits us at someone else's expense. Unfortunately, that seems to be the way of the world. So, in my mind, it's great that it has happened, but how people process it is going to be a very personal thing. And I think for a lot of African Americans who are descendants of captivity, it would be extremely emotional and extremely emotional and besetting, because it's a semi right on the edge of sacrilege. It's as though they've taken away the specialness of what it was, sort of like what they did with the marijuana. You know, they
Not to confuse the two,
they
right?
legalize marijuana to kind of take the bite away from the criminals, and this way the state can get the money.
And you
know.
can go in business.
And you can go in business.
Wow.
We could profit off of it. You know, it's like
Get legit, man.
right. It's not like they want to help people be free from marijuana, be free from some sort of addiction.
No, they don't
And
care
the contradiction is that, you know,
well, we need the money.
there's
So,
a national effort to get rid of flavored tobacco. We want to eliminate flavored tobacco because they're targeting youth, and that's racial and racist to target inner city youth with flavored tobacco. But in the same breath,
yeah.
with the same legislators, they want to legalize marijuana in urban America so that the youth can be high.
Well, this is all about diversion. Yeah.
I mean,
Keep
it just
'em- this is like opium wars. You know, the opium wars. Keep them drugged up. You don't have to worry about those people. We got them under control. They're impaired legally now. Mm-hmm. And I think it was interesting that our black legislators were on the front lines on this stuff. You know,
follow the money.
yeah.
Follow the money.
Yeah. How many of these cannabis lobbyists put their hands in their pockets? Huh? And not just their pockets, a lot of people's pockets up there at the Capitol. Huh? Yeah.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
my
You out front on something like this, but you're not out on front on other things that face our community. Yeah.
Whew.
Getting a little hot in here, isn't it?
Yes, it
A
is.
little warm.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America.
And whose hand is in my pocket?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
And whose hand is in my pocket with the biggest wallet?
Oh my gosh.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
all.
You know,
That sounds
how
good.
you believe when you're a child. in
Sounds good. It's like what Gandhi said. It's a
saying
good
that,
idea on
and-
paper.
Well, it is a great idea.
It is.
And it's a unique idea. And
Yes,
I
it is.
think that the fact that we could even have the conversation is proof of it. Because you can't have this conversation in Russia. You can't have this conversation in North Korea. You can't have it in Myanmar. There's a whole lot of places where you can't say these kinds of things because they will come and cancel you. Cancel culture is very popular in a lot of places on the planet. And so we can agree and disagree, you know, but in theory, you know, we pledge allegiance to the flag for which it stands, right?
Let's live up to the ideals of the nation.
Right. And I think those are great ideals.
And I
That's
believe, you know, when you grow up and you believe in that stuff, when things change, you still believe in this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You still believe. I still believe in America.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
And I still, well, it's the only country I know.
Well,
The
we
only
have to fix
country
it.
my-
It's like anything.
Yeah.
It's like anything. If something is wrong with something, then you have to fix it.
Right.
So we fix it. What do they say? A more perfect union?
A
more perfect union.
A more perfect union. I like that. And that's all we're trying to do. Right? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? There's a lot of people who would like you to do that. Don't do that. Hartford Decides, folks, look. Go to the website, vote for your favorite project. HartfordDecides.com. It's on the screen there, and it's
a nice picture of our city too. Look
yeah,
at that. Yeah.
that's a pretty picture of
Very
the city.
pretty.
All right, Miss Vicky.
Yes.
See you
Father's Day is coming up.
Yeah, yeah,
Happy
yeah, yeah.
Father's Day to my dad and all the wonderful dads out there, and also to to those who have lost their fathers. Certainly remember, have great warm memories of your fathers, and enjoy it. It's going to be a beautiful weekend.
Beautiful weekend. All right, and of course today, Miss Cleo. Today is, I guess today is officially Juneteenth. I think
It is?
today is the holiday.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh,
I think
it
it is
is
the
I
19th.
think. I think.
I thought it was
This
the
is the
19th.
18th. The 19th. I was like
This is
federal.
the
I
17th.
thought they said some federal places are closed today.
Oh.
Now tomorrow, of course, is Juneteenth. There's a big Juneteenth celebration downtown tomorrow at the Black Lives Matter mural. That's a whole nother subject. But at the Black Lives Matter mural downtown tomorrow, the city is putting on an event, which should be actually kind of nice. So that starts at, I think, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Go on down, participate in that. And there's celebrations all over the city, all over the state, and go and maybe learn something. But we'll be back here. We'll see you all next week. All right.
Okay, I'm saying goodbye until next week, and happy Father's Day to all you fathers. Treat those guys really good this Sunday, okay?
That's right. I got to figure out what to cook.
There we go. All right. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye. See you next week.
Bye-bye.